Good morning. This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for The Rant with Barbara Rose Brooker. Welcome, Barbara.
Oh, hi, Karen. So glad to be here and to rant again.
Absolutely.
About.
So we took off last week. Did anything exciting happen for you during the week?
Well, let's see. During the week, I got a lot of work done. I'm in Facebook prison, Facebook jail.
Facebook jail.
Yes, because I've been ranting, against the Republican Party and against the maniac who's running our country. And, in my language, this is where I can really rant and let go. So now I'm in Facebook jail for a while.
Hey, Ken, have you ever been in Facebook jail?
No, I'm surprised that I'm not, because I go after them, fiercely, and my language tends to be salty at times. But I guess I've not got on their, they have their little checklist. I probably missed one or two.
Well,
I'll see if I can do better next week.
You're not a woman. The fact I think that I'm a woman on there using the F word and things where I can really let go. I mean, I was raised to be like this Jewish princess, and you never even said shut up. But this has exacerbated such rage in me, this everything, that on Facebook, wow, I just rant. Also, I love this show. It allows me to rant.
So does Amy Ferris. She's using F-bombs every day. And,
Yes.
and I guess every once in a while they just corral her. But, she's on there every day on Facebook, and she's whipping and wailing without any real problems.
She writes beautifully.
Maybe they got a special case for you, Barbara.
maybe.
Maybe. Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Well, Barbara, let me officially introduce you to Ken. So Ken does a show with us weekly, like you do. His show is called Kayaks.Guru. And
Yes.
he does a lot of yakking, and we love it because we learn a lot from you, Ken.
Thank you.
And I thought he'd be a great guest on your show today because we talk about ageism. And you can really see the ageism coming out during this election right now. And one of the things I want to ask the two of you is, there are a lot of people out there who are saying we shouldn't vote for Joe Biden because he's in his 70s.
Yeah.
But nobody is saying we shouldn't vote for Donald Trump because he's in his 70s.
No.
And what does the 70s have to do with our ability?
Frankly, what does a number have to do with anything? I mean, age is not a number. When people say to me, age is only a number, I want to put their head in the toilet. I mean, it is not a number. It's who you are. I hate this anti-age culture who everything's about numbers. I mean, I always say, okay, I just turned 84. When people hear the number 84, they don't even want to talk to me because they're assuming there's a stereotype. They're assuming that I'm a little twig on top of a C's candy box or something. I mean, our culture is just segregated into numbers, color of the skin, and, everything. As far as Biden and Trump, they just want to pick. So anybody over 60, I believe, running for anything, they're going to bring up age. I think it's quite disgusting. Disgusting. How do you feel about it, Ken? I can tell by your.
Oh, I'm 78. I'm 78, almost 79. So, age is, for me, it's a reality. It is what I am. All I know about it is I can't do what I used to do, but I can still do a lot of things. Like I can still think, walk, and talk. So I can also write. I can express my opinion, and I can fight where I need to fight. So for me, it's like I've never acted my age. I saw one of your shows, Barbara, where you were talking about, act your age. Well, when I was a kid, I acted older, and when I'm older, I'm acting younger. So for me, I've never gotten that formula right. And if you talk about age, I think people think longevity. You don't want to get a magazine with a 2 year subscription because you may not make it. That's the idea behind it. I mean, so he's 78, and if you elect him, he's going to die. So he put his insurance policy in, and he got a 50-year-old woman running behind him, right? So that's the reality. You look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? That's an old lady. And look at the power and the mind and the productivity coming out of her. So if you want a role model for age, just look at her.
Absolutely.
I love her, and I don't consider her an old lady. By the way, I really dislike, and I'd love to legislate against terms like old, cougar, age appropriate, senior, elder. I really resent when I'm listed as an elder, someone who hasn't met me, when you fill out forms. I resent that you can't take out certain insurances, that you can't apply for certain jobs. You can't, because of the number. As Obama said, yes, you can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And this is really what my platform is and what I'm fighting for, because I really don't think age is a one size that fits all. It really is not. And yes, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a perfect example. You'd never consider her as older or old. Now, another thing too, during this pandemic, both of you, and listeners, I wonder how you feel about this. We are faced with ourselves more than ever, because at least for me in San Francisco, I really don't go out. All the restaurants are closed. We can get takeout. We can sit outside. The shops are all closed. Everything's closed. The streets are empty. People are moving out. But the point is, I think all of us are more inside. And when I say inside, self-reflection, self-reflecting, more inside ourselves. Because before the pandemic, when we're busy, and running, if you had a bad mood, or you were in a depression that day, or whatever, or something you didn't want to face, it would be covered up. But during the pandemic, we are here with our own mirrors and the mirror of reflection. And I'm finding it stunning. I also think in this tragedy that there's enormous opportunities for not only a new self, facing the self, but for creativity and new awareness, and new awareness for positive aging. And I just want to say one more thing. The motto, Karen, I haven't even talked to you about this, but the motto that's going to be on Age March, the first Age March in history, for Age March, I just trademarked, is age magnificently. Age magnificently. At every age, whether you're 90 or 100, or look at poor Jacob Blake, the 37-year-old African-American man, unarmed again, shot in the back 8 times in front of his children, close range, while the police held his shirt. Boom, 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 boom. 37.
What do you have to say about that?
What do I have to say about it?
Ken, because I'm looking at your face as you're listening to it.
Yes, because I've been ranting. Jump in, Ken. You can jump in anytime you want.
So as we age magnificently, one of the things I think you're saying, Barbara, is that you can age magnificently when you're 10 years old or you're 100 years old. And we all have that right. And now the right is being taken away of so many people because of the color of their skin.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what's it like in New York City right now, Ken? I mean,
Well, it's a lot better than I got back from Mexico in March. They were canceling flights, and so I was due to come back in April, but they were canceling flights, so I had to get out, and I came back home. I landed 2 days before they shut everything down, and so we were in the house for 2 months. I had in the first 2 months, I got in my car and I drove into Manhattan one time, and it was the scariest thing I ever did. I was at 8th Street and 5th Avenue in the center of the road, parked in the center of the street. There wasn't a car left or right, or I looked up 5th Avenue, from the Washington Square Arch. There wasn't one car that you could see all the way up to Midtown. Walking around, there was nobody outside. It was like, it looked like after the apocalypse. Now, it's almost back to normal, except for Uptown, except for the workers that have learned to work from home. They're using their computers. Wall Street's at home. Accounting firms are at home. Everybody is digital. They're doing doctor visits online, etc. But as far as downtown, I'm from the Village, everything's open. Restaurants are open. They have where cars used to park. They now have tents and outdoor tables. They're not inside yet, but the stores are open. You can go to a Walmart. You can go to the big stores. Here in Jersey, where I live, it's really open. All of the big box stores are open.
Are they
Trader
wearing
Joe's, Excuse me?
Are they wearing masks?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. We're having trouble with
Yeah,
that.
Well, I think the only people that I noticed that aren't are, and as you would expect, is the young, because they just think, well, if I get it, it's just 2-3 days and I'm over it and I'm not going to die from it. So it's too big of an inconvenience. And you can't tell them that they're carriers. You can't tell them about that. But other than them and those people, you have to really kind of avoid. But outside, almost everybody else is wearing a mask. I watched a thing on Channel 4 the other day, and they talk about the quality of masks, that they did the test on how many particles can go through a mask, etc.
Right.
If you have a cloth mask with a filter, a HEPA filter in between, and then another cloth piece on your homemade, nothing, you can't blow out a candle. And so that's the safest thing as far as I'm concerned, is to just wear a high quality mask. And I'm getting ready for September and October when the sneezing season and the flu season comes. I'm going to wear one of those shields.
Yeah.
Because you really, you don't want people spraying you. And I'm riding buses, New Jersey buses. There's only one person permitted per row. New York City subway, I've never seen it as clean. One person for a seat of 4, no crowding. It's like if they come back to normal, then it's going to be a problem because people are going to be crowding on buses. You go through Times Square now, there's nobody there. So in some ways, it still doesn't look right, but in many other ways, there's that dreaded feeling that you had, like everybody's a potential enemy. You don't even let the plumber into your house.
Right.
Now the plumber comes in, another guy comes in. It's not that way. We have a restriction that only 2 people are allowed on an elevator at any one time.
I think we need a national mandate. We need a national lockdown to get this thing. Otherwise, I predict it's going to go on and on and on and get worse. And I am shocked that it's been so lax. Last night, I watched the Republican convention. I am a Democrat. But I wanted, and also I'm very, very anti-Trump. But I watched because I was curious to see what they'd say. No Not once was the virus mentioned. The only one who even mentioned, finally, that we have a pandemic was Melania Trump. The only one. The others, they weren't wearing masks, they weren't social distancing. I find it appalling, disrespectful, and stupid, by the way. And so I watched that, but sometimes do you wonder that maybe we're living in an alternate universe? Sometimes I think, did I die? Did the planet go up in an explosion? And we're all living now in this alternate kind of alien universe? It feels strange. Doesn't it? It's never going to go back to the way it was. What do you think, Ken?
But at least I believe he will lose the election. I think he will lose badly. I think people voted for him in 2016 wanting change. They thought he was going to be the outsider, the businessman who was going to come in and bring in the best and do the business model and do it. And now they know who he is. And now a lot of people who voted for him aren't voting for him this time around. And I don't think he's gained a vote because he doesn't talk to anybody other than his base. So I think what he had and the surprise element and the polls and all that stuff that were in play in 2016 are not in play now. So my personal view is that he's doomed. This is the end of time for him. And thank God he goes away and we never have to listen to him again. He'll come up with Trump News Network and all his sycophants will go and watch it and let them have a good time. Because we're going to get a normal guy in the White House and we're going to get a good VP and get the Congress to wake up and start to do things again. It's probably the most important election in my life. I just
Absolutely.
I see it as, I don't think the planet can survive 4 more years of this man. And not only that, the democracy and the government will just erode. Yes. I mean, what you really have here is a cult, and you have a cult leader. When have you ever had a Democrat or a convention where without a platform and all they have is a puppet leader, and everybody just follows him and whatever he says, whatever he wants, there's no challenge to him whatsoever. I've really never seen such a power grab in politics.
No, it's absolutely weird. And from what I read about you, the little thing, I thought, oh, you are a man of all seasons, definitely. You're an author.
Yes.
You're, a radio host. You are a therapist.
Musician.
You write film critics. You're a film critic.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, there's a lot to talk about with this dude. A lot to talk about.
And it's unusual to have a male on your show, right?
Yes. Do you find during the pandemic, are you watching a lot of films? Are you, Karen? Because this is a time, I think, when people are, at home watching a lot of films. I'm reading more than I ever did,
Yeah. Well, I'm actually watching less films now because when I had a site called Yak and Back, and I did movie and restaurant reviews and world travel. So everywhere I went, we had a thing in New York called Movie Pass, and $10 a month, and you could see unlimited amount of movies. It was like insane. And so I'm an art film guy and an independent movie guy. And I would see on a Friday, I'd see 3. I'd see 2 on Monday, 2 on Wednesday. I was seeing and reviewing like 5 to 7 films a week because, New York has got that many art theaters and they represent everybody from everywhere. So now you can't go to the movies, so you just have to do Netflix or Hulu or Prime. Right. And they're not the new ones. They've stopped making movies because of the pandemic. So you're reviewing old stuff. So it's different. It's different. people have seen it or they have an opinion. Usually a movie critic reviews something that somebody hasn't seen.
True.
Makes sense.
But you know what you have in New York that I love more than anything? To me, you have the museums. And I love contemporary art. So my daughter went to NYU, so I would spend a lot of time going back to New York and in the museums. And I still, I still go on YouTube just to see the artists I love. So all the museums are closed, I imagine, in New York. The MoMA, the Frick, all of them, the Guggenheim.
Yeah, they're all closed. They're talking about now opening up the Met, with 25% capacity. And so they're slowly starting now. Now is, at least they're debating it in the papers on how to do it safely. But I would think by the fall, if they don't have the second big wave, which unfortunately I think will happen, they'll be open.
Well, we're seeing the big waves coming amongst the young people. I mean, going back to school, even the elementary schools in our area, they have these thermodetectors. So when the kids walk in the door, they can tell if they have a fever or not. And as soon as the schools are opening up, they're closing down again. And I think it's because we've become lax. And I think you're right, Barbara. For one period of time, if we all had to close down, wear a mask, stay the distance, we could begin to eradicate this. But the problem is that
the president made politics out of this coronavirus. Why did he have to do that? He could have just said, hey, folks, listen, I'm going to get you out of this. I'm the leader, and we got a bad problem here. But he chose to make it, only Democrats are getting it, and it's a hoax, and all that other kind of stuff.
Right.
He has killed people with
global warming's a hoax, he says. Meanwhile, you've heard about California. You know the smoke is so bad here. I have all my windows closed right now. I can hardly breathe. You've heard that California's on fire.
Yes.
The air is filled, it looks like fog, but it's smoke. You can't even go outside. And he calls this a hoax. And I also blame a lot of the governors too. I mean, one governor says this, there's that idiot governor, is it in Arkansas or wherever, who just said, oh no, you don't have to wear masks. And sending these children to school, to me, is like sending little children into the fires. You're sending them into potential death. That's essentially what it is. It's like a Holocaust. And I think it's just horrible. No.
Well, I think it's criminal. It's equal to yelling fire in a movie theater and causing a stampede. It's the same thing. If you make a public statement and you're in a position of responsibility and it hurts the people that you just advised, I think you should be criminally negligent. If I was running the thing, I would have him indicted over that.
I'm sorry.
He is giving out information that will hurt people and kill them.
I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the things I said on Facebook, is that we should all sue Trump, because so many people have died. All these people who have died, they were, he won't wear a mask. And how about the little white rabbit, Pence? I know I'm ranting, but if Pence says one more time, a good Christian person, well, you know what? Everybody isn't Christian. And everybody isn't, there's Muslims, I'm a Jew, there's this, there's that, there's this, that. Everyone isn't Christian. But to be good, you don't say don't wear a mask. To be good, you don't say peaceful protest. Well, African American people have had it up to here. And that's
not only them. Not only them. I've had it up to there as well for years.
And what do you mean by that?
I marched in the 60s for racism. We were marching for equal rights for women and for blacks back in the 60s when we was trying to stop Vietnam. I mean, and when has it ever gotten better? I mean, it had a little bit of a push when Obama was in because at least it had a black voice with some power. But other than that, you know, everybody is, what have they ever really done to change the police force? What have they ever really done to stop the way they arrest blacks and put them in jail? You know, jail is the new lynching. You know, you take people out of the street, you put them in jail, they come out, they can't vote. You know, you've neutralized them. When have we ever systemically dealt with racism? So when I see them shooting these blacks, it's nothing new for me. It just means it's still going on.
I see it as worse because I've been there too. I know what you're saying, but it's worse now because now you can watch it on TV. I mean, I saw the police hold his shirt, Jacob Blake, and boom, 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 boom. So then they announced the cop is on leave. On leave? He should be in jail. And, you know, I'm not saying that everyone should go around smashing windows and burning cars, but let me put it this way. I understand why they are. Because they are angry. And we've got to get somewhere. I think we should have protests for years. I think we've got to do something, or it's just going to go on and on and on.
Well, I think that detracts, it changes the message. The message should be about police violence and what the police are being systemically trained to be riot police and federal police and military police. And I think, you know, we've forgotten that they're civil servants and they're supposed to solve problems, not create them. And the whole idea is that once they do another, you know, and we had in New York, we had Eric Garner, the guy selling cigarettes and the original chokehold. And so people come out and protest against that. They put the Black Lives Matter sign up, and then that's fine. But then in that crowd is also the radical fringe, the people who think, hey, let's go out on the street and create some mayhem, you know, and they go out and smash windows. That then becomes the message. That's what the media does, is then they'll report on looters and blah, blah, blah. And then your Republicans and your cops will say, this is civil disobedience. We have to have more cops. This is intolerable. The whole message has changed. We're not listening anymore, that we're out there, and instead of calling them protesters, I believe they should call them enraged civilians. The enraged rightfully enraged demonstrators outside saying, we have to focus on what these cops are doing in every city and what the message behind how they perceive black people. They perceive them as a potential threat. When a white guy does the same thing, they don't perceive them as a threat. So I think the looters and the rioters, they hurt the movement. They hurt the message that's being sent. And what's the result of that? You get people like Trump are going to get up there and he's going to say, we need more police. If you elect me, I'm going to be a law and order guy. You go back to the old Nixon thing. We're going to be law and order, and we're going to stop all these black and Spanish people from being out in the street and they're angry. You know, nobody deals like me as a social worker with the underlying cause. It's poverty and ignorance and lack of jobs and lack of family structure. It is the core of most poverty and most crime in the country is caused by those things. That's where your focus should be.
It's true. It's like the Black Lives Matter movement. But what I can't stomach are some of the white people who are exploiting the Black Lives Matter. You know, they're giving fundraisers in honor of the Black Lives Matter. They just want power and control again. I think that systemic white privilege and racism is worse than ever. I hear what you're saying, Ken, and I agree with all you're saying, because some of the looters, a lot of the looters are these groups who wait for the protest and then they, you know, zero in.
Well, it's sad that so many of us didn't learn from the riots of the 60s. You know, the riots of the 60s destroyed cities, okay? And they destroyed the poorest of the poor. And that's what they're doing again. And
And
their
people burn
message
down
is
their own neighborhoods.
right.
They burn down their own bodega. You
Yes.
know, if they went to the white neighborhood and and attacked, you'd have a whole different issue of attendance.
Well, I never thought of myself as a racist, and I don't think I am, but I will tell you that there are times that I've thought, well, why is that Black person getting the same job that I just applied for? And maybe we were equal, but because, companies at one point had to employ so many different people, I may have been on the outside looking in. But now that
Yeah,
I
well, I
understand
mean,
it better,
you wore their shoes. They wear those shoes every day.
exactly, exactly. And I didn't understand it back then, which I do now.
Yeah.
Because we're not racist, but we internalized racism. We're still owners of a plantation. We're still the white people. We still have privileges that they don't have.
Right. We haven't changed the history books yet.
Yep.
We still talk about America the Conqueror, and yeah, and the Indians were savages, and and by God, they got in our way, and they actually stood up and shot us back, how dare they? So we had to annihilate them, and that's the history books. Like, oh, that's okay. They were savages. Yeah, right. I remember, in the hippie movement in the '60s, everything was peace, love, war. We're out on the streets. Everybody was deluded that we would change the world and blah, blah, blah. We stopped Vietnam, but, other than that, there really wasn't a hell of a lot we did. So here you are in California. Now you have the Monterey Festival and you have all these other festivals. And it's when the movement died, is when the Stones were at Altamont. And here's all the hippies doing the music and, taking their LSD and dancing around. And now you have the Hells Angels running the place.
Yeah.
And had a riot and started beating people with pool sticks and clubbing everybody and getting out of control. It was a fringe element of the We Love Everybody movement, but they got the movement down. By what they did, they brought in the media and they said, look what happened to the hippies. Here they are, beating up one another, bloody, nasty, and blah, blah, blah. And it all died because nobody had control of the entire movement. It's like now when the Black Lives Matter people go out on the street, they really need to have a Martin Luther King. You really need to have somebody who says, we don't do that. We're nonviolent. We're not like them. We're here to say what they're doing is wrong. And if we do what they do, then how can we have any higher moral ground?
We had John Lewis. I'm so sorry. I love John Lewis. He's good trouble. Make good trouble. So in a way, he was saying that too. But I do think this is something.
We need the next younger generation, Martin Luther King. We need young Black people, powerful. I mean, the youngest I know who represents that is Cory Booker.
Cory Booker. Yeah.
Powerful, intelligent, well-spoken, educated senator from New Jersey. Good man.
Also, Van, what's his name? Van, he's on every night on CNN. He's also wonderful. I just forgot his last name. But getting back to the age thing, I want to say one thing. The riots brought up something. Remember the gentleman who was the, quote, peaceful protester for marching for Black Lives Matter? Very fit guy.
Yes.
In his 70s. And we all saw on TV when he went up to speak to one of the cops. You saw
he got clubbed.
You saw it. It's right on TV. He fell on his back. I understand he's still in the hospital off and on. It really. But here's the thing that I hear: 75-year-old elderly man. This is how the reporters describe him. I want to call in and say, will you stop labeling this man? Stop labeling him. Just give his name. Look at the crime. Why are you labeling it? So we just seem to be a country of labels. Labels from religion, good Christians, bad Christians, anti-Muslims. I just labels, just like this age segregation. I mean, you know, Karen's had on many, we've done shows with, quote, famous age, what would you call, age activists. Everybody's an activist now, another label, but age activists. And you know what really gets me? Is that they are cliques. They're cliques. They have their own little groups. They will have all these things, but anybody over 60 cannot be in them. But they're age activists and they're age experts. No one's an expert because we're all aging. We're all experts. And it just drives me crazy that this term ageism that I hate, by the way, it's turned into a real cliche. It's $1 billion business. It's exploited. It's a talk show. It's a bestseller. It's a new platform for people to jump on when they didn't have anything else and to become stars. And that's why Karen, with our age march. Does Ken know about our age march?
Well, why don't you tell him about it?
I'll tell Ken. Okay, Ken, in 2010, that was 10 years ago. I was disgusted with the ageism and the age discrimination, segregation, just disgusted. And so I founded and trademarked Age March. And it's a march to celebrate age pride for all ages, races, genders, sexualities. Like Gay Pride Month, it would be Age Pride Month. To make a long story short, I produced about 5 of them, one in LA. Each time 300-400 people showed up, all ages, in their 20s, on roller skates and everything. I have all the press videos, you know, to prove it. But then in 2018, I gave my last one in San Francisco. It was too much work for me because I'd have to raise, everything was by donation. The women who helped me were all squabbling. You know how those things can go. And I thought, I can't do this alone anymore. So I was with Karen on a show and we said, let's have a virtual age march. And so I started I have databases, which Karen keeps. We have way over 1,500 now. Every day I'm having join, you know, the Age March. Now, I'm not going to say, I can't say on the air, but I have a national sponsor, I'm, you know, keeping my fingers crossed, who's interested in taking it over, and a national celebrity who will be the face of age. So I'm redoing my platform. It's now called Age Magnificently, to promote positive age awareness. I want it to be positive for men and women. I want to get rid of this word ageism. And yes, I want to legislate. And there's a lot of things that need legislation. When I say I'm hoping people will take it up. Just like,
have you partnered with AARP?
They're the worst, and I'm going to say it on air right now. They are the worst. Of course I thought of AA. They were the first ones I thought of because they brag so much about being, you know, for age. All they do is profile movie stars who are over 50 or 60. I had referrals to ARP by big people in this thing. I've sent the letters, I've done everything, I've never heard back. So I just moved on. And now I'm getting responses from, you know. But anyway, that's what we're working on.
Is there any other group that you think is better than them that we should focus on and help support?
Yeah, I think a lot of them are. I mean, look, if Art called me today, you know, the head of Art, I've tried to get her on our show, Karen, the head of Art, Joanne Jenkins. I tried to reach her, but I don't know whether I have the right contact information or what. And she was referred by someone high up. If Joanne Jenkins said to me, Art will, you know, represent this, sponsor this, of course I'd be thrilled. But I can't sit here and wait, so I moved on. And I do have some really big national corporate companies.
And this is for men, women, all ages, all races.
You know, all ages, because at my last age march, I had kids in their 20s on roller skates and bikes. And I said, why are you here? This one was in San Francisco. And they said, because we work for startups. You know, they work for Google, Salesforce, all the big companies. And we get the message, by the time we're 30, we're going to be ousted, because then they go and they bring in all the 18 to 21 years old from the Midwest. They bring them in on buses and they pay them exorbitant amounts of money. So there is this whole youth thing going on, you know, with the startups. So I was very surprised. I had a lot of men, and I had a woman 96 years old wearing high heels and holding a sign, Mickey Mouse is over 100. You know, I mean, it was really beautiful to see. It's on my website, agemarch.org. A lot of the pictures are on there.
And what's the focus? Is your focus legislative, or is your focus advertising? What is it that is your target?
My target is for everybody at every age, for awareness. Oh my God, I'm not going to be invisible. Oh my God, I'm not going to be segregated. Oh my God, I've always wanted to write a screenplay. And just because I'm 80 doesn't mean I can't. Oh my God, I always wanted this job, and I'm qualified and I'm healthy. So I'm going to interview for it. So my focus is to blend all ages and age segregation and age racism. And yes, legislation will come in, because there's a lot that has to be legislated as well.
It reminded me, Barbara, that when I had my practice, I had a therapy practice for just about 50 years, one way or another. And people would come in, they would be 40 years old, you know, with their first, the kids are raised. I'm not needed. My husband doesn't know who I am anymore. I've been nobody other than Mrs. Somebody or Mommy. And now I find myself, I'm 42 years old, and I'm too old to do anything. I'm too old to start over. And it was like a mantra for me. And I would say, well, what do you want to do? Oh, if I was younger, I would go back to school and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, how old are you going to be next year? And they would have to answer. And I said, and you didn't do anything between now and then. And how old are you going to be the year after that? And that's now 2 years that you haven't done anything that you could have done. And so in 5 years from now, you're still going to be saying, I'm too old. Either you're going to have it done and you're going to have your degree and be in a new world, or you're still going to have the same old belly aching. So it was like a light of fire under people about their conceptual view of their own age, as if you reach a certain age and now you're too old for something. And that was against everything that I believed, because at 60, I learned to play the piano. At 70, I learned to ride an elephant and play a guitar. And I wrote my first book at 72. You know, so, and now I just wrote my second one at 78. So, you know, keep going. You know, just do what you got to do.
Keep going is a wonderful slogan. And what you said is true. I teach writing classes at San Francisco State University to men and women 50 up. And I have people in their 90s and their 80s, and they say the same thing. And I've seen them. I've stayed with them over the years, developing their projects, and they've since published. One is a national bestseller right now, Jim Bostwick. You know, he was on the show. He's 78. I mean, it is amazing. But we're so bogged down by age. By the way, my daughter's a therapist, and she went
So is
back.
mine.
Really?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm 84 and I want to be a movie star. You know, I always say that. You know, I published my first novel at 50, and I went back to grad school and school, you know, in my 30s, and I have a lot of plans and dreams. And so, age march is for the other side, not to squish my plans. I won't let them. So I want all these people who will join Age March, stay on your path of dreams. Don't let anybody, because of your age, say no. So what do we do now to get there? You know, like you said, Ken.
Well, we support each other, and that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Supporting each other and showing what each of us has done over the ages. You know, um, I thought when my son was graduating high school that I looked at him and I said, wait a second, I have an associate's degree. You're going to college. You're not going to have more of a degree than your mom. So I went back and got my bachelor's and got my master's. My husband did the same thing.
How old were you when you did that?
I was 58 when I went back to school.
Oh my God. See, I got my master's at 50. I was 50. Yeah.
So, you know, there were people who said, why would you do it now? I did it for me more than anything else. And, you know, when I listen to Ken and, you know, the things that you've done, you know, you've had a very exciting life as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of wonderful things. You've actually lived a full life, but there's no reason why we can't start living at any age.
Right.
That's the
You guys
whole
should meet.
thing.
You guys should meet my partner, Jill. She's now 74, but she started out in advertising in New York, and then she went in her 20s and got a social work degree. And so she was a social worker, and she was helping resettle Jews from Russia, doing good stuff, etc. But it wasn't her passion, and she'd always loved animals. And so at 46, she said, well, I'm going to do it. Quit her job and went to vet school, and left the country and went to one of the Aruba, one of the islands, wherever. Went to vet school, came back, had to do an internship in Oklahoma, blah blah blah. So it took her 4 or 5 years. About age 50, she now becomes a vet, and now she is one of the most unique vets in Manhattan. She's a holistic veterinarian that does chiropractic.
Oh,
And she does homeopathy. She doesn't do traditional medicine. So the people flock to see her because, you know, you do no harm with homeopathy. The animals come in and they're paralyzed, they can't walk, and she gets them to walk. I mean, it's like this magical person who has a whole other life, that she has part A and then part B. And so now she's training other people as she's reducing the amount of work that she does because we travel so much. But now she's teaching younger people how to do homeopathy and how to do laser and stuff. She would fit right in with you two, you know.
We had her on your show, and
Yeah.
I tell you, I was amazed because
animals. I want to do a show because my other daughter, Bonnie, not Susan, rescues dogs off the slaughter trucks. You know, when they skin them. So she brings these dogs over. Right now she has Betty. I'm so in love with Betty. But anyway, I'd love to have a show of your partner, Bonnie, who rescues the dogs from China, and the dogs. We could have like some dogs coming in and out. I mean, they're human, you know, they're better than humans. They really are. Wouldn't that be great? But you know, as Ken is talking and you're talking, Karen, what you both said is exactly the key to life, the key to what I'm doing with the Age March. I'm not doing anything so unusual. It's just that It's the key to life, the key to living. You don't stop because you're 60 or because you're 70, you know. And I'm finding right now, really, as soon as I hit 80, 4 years ago, I'm finding amongst my peers and colleagues and pitching, I have a couple books in development for a TV series. I probably won't be alive by the time it happens. Everything's shut down. But the point is, when they hear my age, they don't even want to have a meeting with you. They only care about the projects, or they think that you're just, you know, some decrepit, or they can take advantage of you, you know, and that sort of thing. I really think I call it age racism. I don't know if that's such a great term, but that's what I call it. That's why I want to have this age march. Possibilities, Ken. What you're discussing, what you're saying, you went back to school, I went back to school. I told you I had to wear a Velcro name tag that said re-entry woman when I went back to college as a single mother. And that was in the early 70s, I guess. You know, re-entry woman. The segregation. And at 60, I had a column for years for a local paper called Suddenly 60. And I would get hate mail saying, when you're 60, don't tell us how great it is. You're really ready for the home. You should be in a home. You know, look what's happening with we're living longer, but it doesn't matter how long you live. What matters is to fall in love with yourself and your dreams and make it possible no matter what age. I think I'll stop there.
I think you said it all today.
Well,
Yeah.
you two.
Good luck to you, Barbara. Keep doing it. Keep plugging along, and you're an energy force, and you're a good role model for us.
Thank you, Ken. Will you be in our age march? You have to join. Listen,
Okay.
Ken and your partner, join agemarch.org. All you do is go on, type in your email and name. Wix sends me the database. I send it to Karen. We send you notes. You will be updated as far as the date, because I'm working on a network and a sponsor right now.
Okay, good.
And tell other people. And for listeners, anyone who wants to read my newest novel that came out a week before the pandemic, when all the bookstores shut down, Love Sometimes, published by Post Hill Press, Simon Schuster. It's about ageism in the media and Hollywood. It's about falling in love with a much younger gay man. You're in for a ride on this.
Great book.
Thank you. And that's available on Amazon, Target, you know, all the regular places. I loved meeting you, Ken. I think you're fabulous. And I think Karen is fabulous. And I always thank you, Karen, for giving me a voice every week, letting me rant.
I love when you rant.
You know, I rant. So thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great week.
You got ranters and yackers, huh?
Yep, I do.
Stay safe.
All right. Take
Bye-bye.
care, everybody.